C# is a powerful programming language that allows developers to implement complex logic through decision-making structures. In this lesson, we will focus on using if, and else statements to create branching logic in your C# applications. Understanding how to control the flow of your program based on conditions is essential for developing dynamic applications. Don't worry if this feels new at first. Now we're on understanding conditional statements. Conditional statements are constructs that allow the program to make decisions based on certain conditions. In C#, the most common conditional statement is the if statement. It evaluates a condition and executes a block of code if the condition is true. If the condition is false, the program can evaluate additional conditions using else, if, and else statements. Now, syntax of if, and else. The syntax for using these statements is straightforward. Here is a basic structure. I'll let you read the examples on screen rather than reading every line aloud. In this structure, first, condition is a Boolean expression that evaluates to true or false. Also, the block of code within the curly braces is executed only if the condition is true. Also, additional conditions can be checked using else if. Finally, the else block is optional and executes if none of the previous conditions are true. Now we're on example grading system. Let's build a simple grading system that evaluates a student's score and assigns a letter grade based on the score. Below is a complete example. The samples on screen walk through this step. Take a moment to read through them. In this example, first, we declare an integer variable score and initialize it with a value of 85. Also, we then use an if statement to check if the score is 90 or above, assigning an A if true. Also, if the score isn't 90 or above, we check if it's 80 or above, assigning a B if true. Also, this process continues for C, D, and F. Finally, we print the result to the console. Next, nesting if statements. Sometimes you may need to evaluate multiple conditions within a single condition. This is called nesting. Here's an example of a nested if statement. See the example. On this slide, pause if you want to study the details. In this example, we first check if the person is an adult, 18 years or older. Also, if true, we have another if statement inside that checks if the person is 21 or older, allowing them to drink alcohol. Finally, if the person isn't an adult, the program outputs that they're a minor. In this lesson, we learned how to use if, and else statements in C#. We explored how to create branching logic to execute different blocks of code based on conditions. We also discussed the syntax and provided examples including a grading system and nested conditions. Mastering these concepts is crucial for controlling the flow of your applications. Alright, your turn. Give this a try. First, modify the grading system to include grades for scores above 100. Also, create a program that categorizes age into child, teenager, adult, and senior. Also, build a simple application that checks if a number is positive, negative, or 0. Finally, implement a program that provides feedback based on temperature ranges, e.g., cold, warm, hot.